Hello, everyone. Welcome to the COVID calls. I am your host, Ryan Pyle, and this is my Instagram Live. And I am coming to you from Istanbul, Turkey, where everything is still going quite well. No real problems. Look, today on the show, I've got Scott Wilson of Departures and Descending fame. Scott and I connected about 2 weeks ago, and we had an absolutely lovely chat. And I got to learn quite a bit about Scott. And we had such a good time on that first call that we decided to reconnect again today and just kind of talk less like an interview. Like, I guess the first time we chatted, I was really interviewing him and getting to know him and his motivations for a lot of different things. And today, we're just going to kind of chat about, sorry, Thomas. Yes, the Ethiopian t-shirt is still around, but trying to wear it less because there's some dark memories there. But yeah, so Scott and I just wanted to reconnect and just kind of chat about television and how we both think like television is going to be for the next kind of few months or few years, and where that, how we feel about that. So look, Scott is in the room. Scott Wilson of Departures and Descending and TV producer and TV host, and we're back in it. There he is. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. You're sideways.
I'm sideways. Uh-oh.
Yeah. There we go.
How do we turn this? Oh my goodness. How's that?
That's better, man. That's better.
More upright? Okay.
Yeah. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. Look, I can't thank you enough for joining me 2 weeks ago to kind of learn more about who you are and what makes you tick. And I think the great thing that we could do today to give our audience justice and to give our audience some better idea of what two TV producers and TV hosts like us think about this industry over the next few months or years. Because, I know you're probably sitting on your hands at the moment. You're probably writing proposals, but you have no real idea when any of them will get going again.
That's right.
But look, how have the last 2 weeks been for you? You're still doing okay?
Yeah. I mean, happy and healthy, and really, again, in a time like this, that's by far the most important thing, because there are a lot of people who can't say the same. So, yeah, it's one of those, when we start talking about our industry, the sky is falling because we can't make TV. Well, I mean, it is a first world problem kind of discussion, I suppose, from the get-go.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people who rely on the TV industry to make a living like ourselves. So it certainly is a good discussion to have, that's for sure.
Yeah, and we hope everyone out there listening is safe and healthy during these challenging times. And look, Scott, like when you make TV, when you produce television, I'm guessing that you also use a host of freelancers, just like me. Like you have freelance cameramen, maybe you have freelance editors, freelance sound mixers, colorists. Everyone in our industry is essentially a freelancer,
That's right.
because the work kind of comes and goes. Like very few people can kind of work 12 months a year. You're kind of on and then you're off, and you're on and you're off. And people in our industry are getting just crushed right now.
Yeah, and that's absolutely. I mean, for people who are in post production,
Yeah.
I mean, the power of a decent laptop allows editing to continue, music creation to continue, things like that. For anything that's already been shot, that starts to wear out quickly. I mean, you move through those things now that we're months into this kind of lockdown situation, into this pandemic situation. Most of the footage that had been shot, at least for us or people that I know of, has long been digested, has long been edited, and it's sort of, now we're running a bit on empty. So it's a matter to get new content. And I think as well, there's going to be a huge obvious trickle down effect of that too for TV networks, for streaming providers like Netflix and Amazon, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They have a boatload of content, but because of the last 3 months, they never planned on everyone doing nothing but sitting at home and watching that content.
Yeah.
And so now I think there's going to be a huge void of content, because everything has been consumed, and so there's going to be a void of new fresh content for people. So I think it's going to be a real problem, not just for us as content creators, but for those who are in a much bigger business of sharing that content as well.
Well, this is the thing, like, broadcast television or traditional television, they make shows and then they slot them in to various seasons, like quarter by quarter, 8 episodes, 8 weeks, starting in September. And there's for the broadcast TV people, there's gonna be a huge gap, like next year, Q4, where there's gonna be like no new content. And they're just gonna have to be recutting old stuff and making documentaries out of archival footage or something, and it's just gonna be terrible. And then, but like you said, for digital, once it's up, it stays up. So, like, if people have just consumed everything, and I think I've watched I love the stand-up comedy shows on Netflix. I've watched them all, and
Right.
started watching them again. But it's crazy, like how no one kind of expected this, and how we're all just sitting here kind of bored because we've seen everything. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a challenge for more than just us, that's for sure.
Yes.
But I mean, and then I think there's going to be a real drive to be some of the first people to get that content, because if you can safely, hopefully, achieve
Yeah.
that content and get it to them, then I mean, business is business, right? And if you can be some of the first through the door to offer fresh, new, decent content to some of these providers, then it
Yeah.
could be a real boon for those who can do it. So I'm sure, like you and I, we're trying to think of, okay, what's the best way to start moving forward again, safely, obviously. So
And responsibly, like,
that's right.
if you are a carrier and not symptomatic, it'd be terrible to go and start filming again and then make other people sick and you wouldn't even know. uh,
Absolutely.
and then you and I are also employers, so we run our own production companies, and as employers you wouldn't want to hire freelance cameramen and put them in danger,
That's right.
at all. And actually, I'm in Istanbul right now, and I've started looking at starting production in Europe, in the fall, because I can pretty much drive there from here, and Europe seems to be opening up quite quickly, and hopefully everything is safe. But I started looking at production insurance and travel insurance, and no one is offering anything to do
That's right.
with COVID illness or sickness. And until
That's
that
right.
happens, like, we're all grounded, because you can't you I mean you I can't go to Germany and film in Germany and have one of my guys or myself get sick and do
That's right.
2 3 weeks in a hospital and not have that covered somehow.
Exactly. Yeah. You bring up a really good point about production insurance, because
Yeah.
again, we've been hearing the same thing here, and I think entirely, not only in North America, but by the sounds of it, most of the world, is that if you were lucky enough to have already been in production and secured your production insurance, then you're probably okay to leave it upon yourself to find the safe and responsible way to pick up the torch and continue on.
Right.
Anything new, forget it. There's no way you're going to get production insurance right now for a
Yeah.
travel program,
Yeah.
especially.
A global travel
And so
program.
that's it, And so, like, for those who don't know, the production insurance is essentially an insurance that, well, ensures the production. If anything goes wrong with production, if people get sick or injured, if for any reason the production doesn't deliver on what it's supposed to, the insurance is there to cover it, so that you're not left holding the ball on what can be a very, very expensive thing.
Yeah.
And so, insurance companies, they have their actuaries, and it doesn't take much of an actuary to look at the situation right now and say, well, if you're planning on traveling with a bunch of people around the world, the chance is now quite high that there's going to be a disruption based on the things that are going on. So
Yeah.
so I can't say I blame them, but it is a major hurdle in the kind of business that we're in.
Yeah, it is. And Scott, like, I know you're under a ton of pressure to do Departure season 4, but now you have the perfect excuse why you can't do Departure season 4,
That's
is because there's no travel insurance and production insurance, and
that's
therefore
if
it's
it was
not
just
safe.
for that, we'd be at the door tomorrow. Yeah.
That'd be great. No, it's really crazy. Like, because I also, like, we also get production insurance, but then we also get travel insurance because
maybe we're riding motorcycles or we're climbing mountains, and there's a few insurance companies where you can use them to, like, if you're climbing above 6,000 meters, you can get this insurance, and if you're climbing above 4,000 meters, you can get this insurance, or if you're motorcycle riding, you can get. So these people are just closed, like they're just like no new policies until like, and I think it's actually until the WTO says publicly that the global pandemic is quote unquote over. I think that's what, but that might not be this year.
No, no, I think there's probably a very good, especially with all signs pointing towards this second wave that everyone's talking about,
Yeah,
and depending on where you are in the world, when that potentially could happen. And so, and not to sound like a pessimist, but you look back at history with the second wave of things like the Spanish flu, which actually ended up
sure.
killing more people than the first wave did. So hopefully we've learned from our history, but globally we never seem to. So let's hope that we can change that.
Yeah. So since I talked to you last, Istanbul has opened up quite a bit. So now, like restaurants and cafes are open, and you can sit outside, not indoors. Um, you don't have to wear a mask on the street, but when you go to the restaurant and stuff, you have to wear a mask, and then you can take it off while you're eating. And you got to put it back on. You still need a mask at grocery stores and on public transport. So that's kind of a big
and
thing.
and how does it? I mean, have you been out much since those restrictions have been relaxed a bit? And
Yeah,
going to
every
a
day.
restaurant, because I'm in a region where restaurants are still only for takeout or drive through kind of thing. You can't go and sit even outside on the cafe.
Yeah.
Parts of Canada have opened up at different rates, and I'm just in one of the more populated areas where they haven't done that yet. So I'm keen to hear if you've gone out to a restaurant yet. Does it seem empty? Are people still skeptical over whether they should be bothering with doing something like that?
So a lot of people are going to the restaurants and taking away. Um, so they're open for takeout, and there's quite a few people. Like I go out every day to do something because I just need to get out of the house. And so I'll go to my local coffee shop and get a coffee and take it away. And then sometimes I'll go to the grocery store, pick up something fresh for dinner. Or but there are people sitting outside on the terraces, without masks, eating, talking, smoking, being, wonderfully Istanbul. Cosmopolitan Istanbul is the cafes and restaurants, and they're
Sure.
definitely loving it. And yeah, we'll just have to see, how that holds up.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
kind of crazy.
Yeah. We're all going through this for the first time, right? So it's a bizarre
It's hard.
situation for sure.
It's hard to know. So one thing that just came out in the news, and I don't know if you saw this, but the Canadian government is adding to a pool of funding to help the insurance companies cover any major losses to get productions back up and running inside Canada. Because for those
Right.
of you who don't know, Canada is a huge production center for U.S. Film and television shows. So all the guys will come up from Hollywood or New York, and they'll come to Toronto and Vancouver and do their filming. And the Canadian government is now adding to a pool of funding with the insurance companies and the production companies to try to cover this so that they can actually get started again, and that so other insurance companies can kind of use this experience to gauge whether they can do something similar,
Right.
because right now nothing's happening and it's crazy.
Right. Yeah, and again, based on the province or the region within Canada, the restrictions have been easing at different rates. So one of the first provinces was Manitoba. They had, you know, relatively speaking, they had nearly no cases compared to a lot of the other provinces. And so production in
Right.
Manitoba, which isn't exactly a hotbed for production in Canada, but what Manitoba became available for production, I think first.
Okay.
BC is coming on as well, which is quite a hotbed, especially for the film side of things. Um, and so it is going to be a real experiment, a real fishing experiment. The other concern too for productions is the cost associated with just um, upholding the COVID restrictions,
Right.
the things that are imposed upon them. So especially if people are coming from outside of the country to Canada, then whether you're Canadian or not, you have to self isolate for 2 weeks. So then, if you're coming from outside of the country, you have to self isolate for 2 weeks. begin production, do your production, stay within, because there's a number of different approaches that they're thinking about, where they do the pool aspect, where they keep everyone kind of together. You're in one group. You don't really, you do your job, and then you'll go home. You'll fly home.
Right.
Then potentially you're flying home to a country that has the same kind of restriction, where you're going home to spend 2 weeks of self isolation as well. So I mean, the production is going to be on the hook for paying for up to 4 weeks of the team's isolation, just
Yeah.
in order to shoot for, let's say, 2 weeks. So it's ridiculous. It could be, and I think will be, the kind of thing that just again, a producer is going to look at these line items and say, this is insanity. We can't pay for, more than double the crew costs in the field just to have them isolating in order to shoot for 2 weeks on location. So.
Yeah, because the production budgets aren't that big, and the margins aren't big enough to be able to do stuff. Like, we're not making Marvel movies, like we're
Yeah.
making travel television, and
Yeah.
there's a huge difference between that, and it's crazy. Like, and not just the self isolation. Like, if you're working with camera operators or talent, like they'll want travel days
That's
or
right.
day rates and stuff like that, and it's intense. Like, I haven't figured out how to do it yet. I'm kind of I'm kind of juggling with this idea of going to Europe and then maybe doing my quarantine, my self isolation for 14 days, and then I'll have access to like 26 countries in Europe, hopefully without having to go through any checks or anything like that.
Right.
And then I can try to do something
That's
with regards to one of my series, but it's kind of all just a mess at the moment, and I don't know if it's going to happen or not. And I can't. I don't know about you, but in my heart of hearts, I cannot just write off 2020.
Yeah.
You know what I
I know
mean?
I'm the same way. We're still, we're in June. We're kind of approaching the halfway point kind of thing, but there's still so much time left to sit idly by and kind of twiddle thumbs and write it off. I'm in the same boat, Ryan.
Yeah.
I feel like there's still so much potential, and I would like to think positively, to think that we can kind of nip this in the bud and move on to with a certain aspect of being careful and safety in mind, and still be able to salvage something out of this. I mean, yes, things won't go back to 100% normal until there's a vaccine, I'm sure, but I don't think that it means we have to sit on our butts in an apartment for the next 6 months, or however long it takes, kind of thing.
No.
There's still something that's got to be done, and for here in North America, I mean, certainly for our company, we've started to focus a lot more domestically, just because the international aspect, uh, although it may be possible in some way. Right now, I would rather not put or keep all our eggs in that basket just to find out that it can't. So, we kind of have to sidestep and diversify a little bit. For you with Europe, that makes perfect sense, absolutely. And for us, I mean, we're influenced so much by the United States in every industry in Canada, not the least of which the entertainment industry, and the United States is not looking good right now. Just from the COVID aspect alone is not
Yeah.
looking good right now, and I don't feel safe necessarily going down there with the way the numbers are looking right now. So that's a huge influence on us, and what we do, where we go, and all of that sort of stuff. It's confusing. It's confusing, to say the least.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for you to get a commission from OLN to commission this show between us, and then
Yeah, yeah,
we can just drink and talk about what traveling used to be like.
that's right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
If we're allowed to just sit and have a beer and vent like old men on a patio, then I think that would be wonderful.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I've
No,
been doing it.
nobody will watch it, but we'll be happy.
Hey, these people are watching when I talk to you, so it's not bad. Some nights I'm all by myself though. No, but it's crazy. And when you think, like, again, like, obviously there's a lot of problems in the world, and there's a lot of people that are going through terrible issues, but one thing that people just don't understand is, like, for the last 8 to 10 years, people like you and me have basically traveled globally with like pure impunity. Like, we've just been everywhere all the time and just expected that was life.
Yeah.
And and I was talking actually to a psychiatrist about this the other day, and it was actually in February. I was having like an annual health check, and part of it is a psychological evaluation, which I'm always quite scared about. And and she was saying, like, tell me about your work and stuff like that. And I was like, well, I get to climb mountains and walk across deserts, and I film all the time, and it's amazing. And then she's like, well, what do you do in your downtime? And I'm like, just try to rest and lay low. And she goes like, what's your mood like? And I go, well, when I'm filming, it's like way up here, and then when I'm when I'm taking breaks and not filming, it's like way down here. And you kind of go through these waves of like mini depression. I wouldn't say it's like clinical depression, but
Yeah.
you just you're on such a rush, and then you just come back to like normal life, which is no longer that exciting.
Yeah.
And these last like 10, 11 weeks have just been this huge lull.
Yeah.
And it's been, I would have never anticipated that life was ever going to somehow change.
Absolutely. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, this certainly has given me the chance to really reflect on the last 20 years that we've been kind of out there, in some aspect of it, and how lucky we've been, how privileged we've been to have
Yeah.
had those opportunities and those experiences and met those people and been to those places. And I want to use it for the good. I want to be able to use it as a charge to go forward and really, really appreciate. Not that I didn't before, but I'm just going to appreciate it under a different light. I think this time going out and all the places that we go to and those same adventures and experiences for that very reason, because you never expect that your wings will be clipped the way they've been
Yeah.
for people like us who both personally and professionally are just on the move all the time. So it's tough. And again, you bring up a really good aspect of this the trickle down of the COVID effect for people's mental health and well-being.
Yeah.
It's not just that physical health, but a lot of people are suffering with mental health because of the isolation and because of obviously losing jobs and not being able to contact family, or worse still, having lost family. It's it's a terrible aspect of it that I don't think we're really going to realize the scope of for a long, long time, maybe even long after there's even a vaccine, is to see the longer lasting effects that can be felt because of the mental health implications.
Well, this is interesting. So I did one of these interviews with my cousin a few weeks ago, and he's actually a psychiatrist, and
Oh wow.
he works emergency at Oakville Trafalgar Hospital, which is quite close to you. I grew up in Toronto. My whole family is kind of from there, and he was saying that a lot of people aren't going to the hospitals now because they see them as being kind of hotbeds for COVID, and he was saying that from like February till now there's a lot less people coming in with mental health issues, and he's really nervous about that because he thinks that people are just staying home, and if they're staying home, maybe they're spiraling because those people would have come to see him, and no, that's terrifying. But
Absolutely.
but you and I aren't doctors, and we hope everyone's doing okay out there. One of the things I wanted to ask you, so we were touching on this. You were filming in France,
Yeah.
when all of this kind of started happening. So can you talk a little
Oh,
bit about what you were? No, you weren't.
no.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
when we were filming in France, we were filming in Greece in February when this was kind of starting to rear its head.
Right.
And
Oh,
when we were seeing the effects that were like the numbers were starting to come out of China. Like it wasn't just a story about the numbers in China. It was now starting to be the numbers that were trickling into Europe and trickling into Iran and Italy and things like that.
yeah. So what? If I don't know if you can talk about it, but maybe what were you filming, and what's the status of that production, and what are you guys doing about it? Because you probably didn't finish it.
We finished that particular. So, without going into too much detail, it's for a major airline,
Okay.
and so they're kind of vignettes of some of these destinations that they go to. So the Greece as a destination, we were able to complete that luckily, but there was supposed to be a series of these, and obviously we had to stop short on doing any more of them.
Yeah.
So we were able to complete it, and going back to kind of where we started with this, because we had that shot. even when this lockdown started, you're able to kind of take hard drives home, edit off of a powerful laptop, and even with DaVinci Resolve now you can do on a laptop and color grade and finish, which was great. But then all of a sudden it's finished and you start twiddling thumbs and you
Yeah.
think of what could have been, and all the other episodes of vignettes that we were to do, that at this point, especially looking at the airline industry,
Yeah.
maybe a long time before they see that is money well spent, to go do these kind of projects when in fact they're probably just gone into survival mode. So.
Yeah. So there was a very funny comment back a few. Max Max said, "Is this Departure season 4?"
No, unfortunately it is not yet.
No, not yet. So as you know, I was filming my Extreme Trek series for BBC Earth, and
Mhm.
we did Myanmar in February, and we were able to get in and out of Myanmar. And then we went into Ethiopia in March, and that's kind of when the world shut down, and we didn't finish the episode. And I don't think we'd have to go back at some stage to kind of finish it. And that would be like nice to finish it, but only if it's safe. But I still have like 6 more episodes to do to finish that season, and I'm trying to like repurpose. Like it's usually like a global series. We film on all the continents, but I'm kind of trying to repurpose it for Europe, and then trying to find some ways of bringing my camera guys from North America
Mhm.
to Europe, and then just trying to find some way to safely just get back to work, because
Yeah.
unless I'm filming those episodes and delivering them, there's no money coming into my production company, and then we're all just sitting, spending, not making anything. And then the last thing you want to do is have to make a decision based on money versus health.
That's right.
Um, but then again, it's like, but this is what we do. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what to do if we're not doing this.
Well, Ryan, with what you've shot, sorry, you said you've got what, another 6 episodes to deliver. So how many are in the can?
1.5.
Oh, 1.5. I was going to say, like, has there been a discussion to try to finish what you do have and just air that as like a half season? But I guess that's probably not the case, is it?
No, no, they were expecting more than 1.5. So,
And have you had discussions with the commissioning network then about the situation?
yeah, and they're just kind of in a wait and see mode, and that's just, I mean, everyone's in a wait and see mode. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just like, no one's going to tell us to go and do anything unless we can get insured. Like, no one's going to be like, Ryan, we really want you to get back out there, and then like, I get sick or something. I mean, it's crazy. No one wants to take responsibility for anything.
Of
So
course.
no one is saying anything, and everyone is in this sitting on their hands, waiting and seeing. And I tell you, the insurance companies have to step up and do something now, or
Yeah.
we're going to be all sitting on our hands, waiting and seeing in like October.
Yeah. Yeah. And by then, there's going to be a lot more problems that have trickled down and been created in the industry because of 6 months of no work and no production happening, right?
Yeah, yeah. And the United States came out yesterday and said that they're going to cancel or end their salary support system that they've been doing for U.S. workers at the end of July. So they've been giving people monthly stimulus to cover their salaries, and a
Yeah.
lot of my production people are on that, because a
Right.
lot of my freelancers that I work with are in North America, are in the U.S. specifically, and they've been on that stimulus, and that ends at the end of July. And if I can't get back to work in August, then they're going to be out even longer. And
That's
and
right.
and these are talented, wonderful people that have helped me build my career and build my company, and I want to feed them. Like, I want to give them great shots to edit, and great, great pictures to lay music over. And
Yeah.
and no one is doing anything that they were put on this earth to do right now.
Yeah. And that's it. We're gonna lose a lot of good people that just have to put food on the table, right? I mean, they may leave the industry altogether in order
I think so.
to just keep getting by.
Yeah, I think people are going to be so turned off by the creative industries, by this turn down, because you know what? And I think we talked about this a little bit before. Like, being in the creative arts
Mhm.
industry is so hard at the best of times. Like, we talked about how hard it was to fight to get your story told, and how hard it was to get your vision, and how hard
Yeah.
it was to get someone to fund your idea. And that is when everything is going perfectly.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. When there isn't a global pandemic. Yes.
Yeah, and now it's like terrifying, because because people are still commissioning, but then they're like, well, let us know when you can go into production and we'll start paying you. And no one knows, and no one's going to pay you to sit.
That's right.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, it's the unknown, and it's kind of the funny thing. It's a childlike situation where when you don't have the answers, you go to mom and dad, and mom and dad will have the answers. It's like you try to just find somebody higher up the food chain who can give you the answers and help you get out of the situation, right? Like, okay, well, if I just talk to the network, they'll, I don't know, write me a check and we'll sort this out. It's like, no, they don't know either. Nobody knows. Nobody
Yeah.
knows, and that's why, I mean, the mantra is we're all in this together. Let's stick together. Let's work through this, of course. But it can be really discerning, I'm sure, for plenty of people outside of our industry, but again, for us as well, is to just try to find, okay, well, then who do I talk to get back to work here? No one. You can keep going with the food chain. There's no one who has the answer yet. We just sort of have to wait and see, and that's the most frustrating part is trying to put and when you do try to put a plan together, you start to wonder, am I going to go down this rabbit hole of putting a plan together that then something is going to blow, like either things get way better and that whole plan of working around this problem is a moot point and it's out the window, or worse still, you go down this avenue and put all your eggs in a basket of thinking you found a way out, thinking you found a way back to some semblance of normality in what we do, just to find out that where you wanted to go or how you wanted to achieve that has blown up in your face because of a second wave or because of new restrictions or because of who knows what. So again, the unknown is just it's a cause for many sleepless nights.
It is, and I think that a lot of people don't know how hard it is to make travel shows, because when you and I pick out a destination to go, we want to hit it at the right season. And if you and I are making like 10 episodes over 10 months, for example, we want to hit the right season in each episode at each month, and blah blah blah. And if that gets pushed off 3 months, it's all gone. Like,
absolutely,
you'd have to put
back.
back.
You're likely doing that planning normally months and months in advance. So again, you can try to plan for that shoot that is going to be in the right season. It's going to be not the rainy season, not monsoon season, whatever it is.
That's kind of fun though too, though.
In like, let's say October, November or something, you're doing that planning now. I mean, and with how much of the unknown we're working with right now for weeks from now, imagine trying to plan something that's going to happen on the opposite side of the world 4 months from now without knowing what's going to go on. And you're right, it makes it nearly impossible, because we thought we were pulling off the impossible without the pandemic. So how do we do it with the pandemic is the question. So I think for, as I say, for us, it's going to be a bit more domestically, locally based for a little while. And the stuff that is going to happen more internationally, we're just going to have to completely plan for the absolute worst case scenarios. And again, coming home and having to self-isolate for 2 weeks. And if you're a major Netflix production and they're willing to pay for their entire crew to have that self-isolation on both ends of a shoot, well, that's one thing. For, I'm sure, like, your productions, our productions are nowhere near the scale and budget of something like that. We're not exactly a Game of Thrones kind of production. So so to do that, to come home realizing you're going to have 2 weeks where you're just stuck at home and you can't go out at all for self-isolation, that's a major impact. Just for myself or for my team, they're now not making money for 2 weeks. You're not going to the office for 2 weeks. You're not doing almost any. You can answer the phone and that's about it, but you can't do anything. So you have to question, is that project we're about to pick up, is it worth that 2 weeks? Or like yourself, when you were talking about going into Europe and at least being cleared for there, you have more possibility to at least work the region kind of thing. And I think that's a brilliant idea. We may have to kind of use that as a bit of a model ourselves too. If we're going to go somewhere, let's just make sure that we line up enough work to make it worthwhile, that if we do have to self-isolate there and or at home, okay, it's going to suck, but at least financially speaking, it makes some kind of sense.
Yeah, and for you and I, like we're making travel television shows, and the key that makes good travel television shows, as you well know,
Mhm.
doing 40 plus episodes of departures, is you need to have diversity.
Yeah,
So you can't, like, I can't go to Europe and make 8 episodes in Germany. Like that doesn't work. Like I've got to be in Portugal, I've got to be in Spain, I've got to be in Greece, I've got to be in Estonia. You know, I've got to be in Scandinavia. Like people want to see the world. You got to give them something that looks different every
that's
time.
right.
And now now everything is going local, and we're still, I'm trying to come up with all these different images to try to show people, to kind of get them excited again. And you'll love this, Scott. I was doing um, since I last talked to you, I was doing a lot of press for my new show on Discovery Channel, which just came out. And last year we filmed 10 episodes in 10 countries in Asia, and we did 10 epic expeditions. So we filmed in the Philippines, China, Indonesia, Malaysia, Mongolia, Taiwan, Kyrgyzstan, Thailand, India, and Hong Kong. And while I was doing the press for it, I was kind of joking, like, this is the last travel TV show that's ever going to be filmed, so I hope everyone enjoys it. And and they and they were all like, "No, don't say that." And I'm like, "Okay, we'll make more in the future, but it's not going to be as fun as it was last year."
See, you did this. You
Yeah,
jinxed the whole thing.
maybe by
It
having too
was
much
the
fun.
last travel show to ever be made.
I broke the travel genre.
That's right.
Um,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, Jesus,
You willed it so. Why did you do that?
terrible.
but
I mean,
but again,
it,
going back to your point about you need that diversity because
yeah,
it can sound. I think it can come across as cocky for those who aren't doing travel television, who might just love travel. It'd be like, you're off your nut. How could you not go to Europe and spend months and months and months? Of course, I go and for personal vacation.
mm,
I love my time there, and I could spend 3 months in Germany and discovering new things. You could, but for TV, everything kind of has to be at an 11 all the time.
yeah,
In order to even come across like a 5 or a 6, you have to be giving a 15.
yeah,
Um, and people don't often realize that. And I remember being, I think, which order we did it in. We had shot in the Sahara, and then we were in Mongolia in the Gobi,
mm,
and we were in a desert. I mean, two totally different, like almost opposite ends of the world. But just for the fact that they were a desert and you're trying to create content there that's interesting and unique, and talk to the audience to try to convey to them what it feels like, because there's no smell-o-vision. They can't get searing hot through the TV that you're feeling. You have to convey it
or
with these,
camel,
or oh God, yeah. Um,
yeah,
you have to try to convey all of that for an audience, right? And so you realize that it's way, way more difficult than you think to just, even though you're on the opposite side of the planet, a desert is a desert is a desert when you only have a flat, two-dimensional plane to convey to an audience what's going on. You have to do something completely different and reinvent yourself and reinvent what you're doing.
yeah,
So you bring up a good point, and that's why people may think, okay, well, just stay in Turkey, Ryan, and do 12 episodes and stuff.
yeah,
Turkey is a phenomenal place with a million amazing and diverse things culturally, geographically, et cetera, et cetera. But in order to create an entire TV series with perhaps a seasonal arc and I mean, you need way more. You need way more.
you do. And actually, Scott, this is one of the reasons why I had to, like, kind of leave China, was because, like, I'd worked for 10 years for the New York Times covering China, and and I was naive. Like I was like, all I want to do is make television about China. Like I had all these contacts from my newspaper days, and I found the country incredibly, stimulating and interesting. And again, like you said, millions of stories, thousands of years of history, like it effortless. And then
Yeah.
I would take these ideas to North America and to Europe, and they'd be like, no one wants to watch 10 hours of China. Like people want to watch 1 hour of one place and then go someplace totally different and watch 1 hour of another thing. And then I was like, ooh, I'm gonna have to start working internationally. And that's when everything kind of happened. And now we're kind of coming back to that, where there's the opening of these, like, travel bubbles, like Europe and maybe North America. And it's just like, well, no one wants 10 episodes in the United States when you're trying to make a quote unquote global television show.
Hmm.
But I
Hmm.
think maybe like Extreme Treks this year, season 4 is just going to have like a little asterisk next to it, where it's like it was a COVID production.
Three episodes straight of just Ryan hiking and trekking his way to the local coffee shop for a good Turkish coffee and coming back to his apartment.
Oh, someone in here a little while back said I would watch a TV show of you going grocery shopping. Who was this? Neil McAfee. I would watch you travel to the grocery store. There you go, Scott. There's your new level to that's the new
the bar is set. The bar is set.
Grocery shopping.
I love it.
So look, what's it like in your part of the world right now? Like, are you are restaurants open? Are you able to go to a coffee shop again? Are you talking to me from home or from your office?
I'm at the office,
Okay.
and I can legally do so now.
Yeah.
We are in a very, with Canada being an enormous country, obviously everything is staged differently. Each province, and then even within the province. So Ontario is a massive province that I live in, and because it's so huge and the population is so regionalized, very close to the American border, most of Ontario was moved on to a phase two where restaurants could open, barber shops and hair salons and that sort of thing could reopen again. Within the greater Toronto area, though, the restrictions have stayed because that's where the majority of new cases are still cropping up.
Right.
And so right now, if you want to go to a restaurant, the restaurant has to be takeaway or like a drive-through kind of thing. Your McDonald's or whatnot is kind of, the fewer options. And again, that's a sad scene for an amazing local food scene we have, even like in Toronto, of course, and even here in Hamilton, as kind of this has gone through a bit of a renaissance of restaurants in the last couple of years, and it's sad because a lot of those are mom and pop restaurants that I don't know are going to make it. So it's still tough. I mean, it's fair. I understand why they're staging it the way they are, and I would much rather be erring on the side of caution. But again, here we are, in month 3 of lockdown to a certain sense, and it's it's coming. It's coming. At least here, at least in Canada, a lot of provinces are completely clear of COVID-19, and even in the more populated areas like Ontario and Quebec, the numbers are dropping considerably now, and so we just have to make sure that we don't lose our head and find ourselves, back in the situation again in September.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I was thinking about you yesterday. Actually, I was doing one of these interview chats, one of my COVID calls with a professional rugby player in England, and he was awesome. He was great fun. We were just talking about professional sports and how professional sports is reopening, and he was telling me that 2 days ago in New Zealand, New Zealand officially declared that they'd beat COVID earlier this week or last week, and 2 days ago they had their first rugby match in like 3 months, and 46,000 people were in a stadium together.
Wow!
Isn't that crazy?
That's
and I was thinking of you because you had done so much filming in New Zealand in your early days.
Yeah. Because they're geographically so isolated, I think they were in a good position to start. They have a small population, but so it's, I guess for them, this is going to sound, I don't want to say that it was easy for them to self-isolate because they still have a huge economic effect by shutting themselves off from the world. They're so dependent.
Well, think of all the production. Think of all the production there. Like I have post-production guys there too, and
exactly.
and they're getting crushed.
That's right. Yeah. And I know talking, one of my best and oldest friends is a professor at the University of Auckland, and so I try to have a FaceTime with him even when there wasn't a pandemic, just because that's the easiest way to keep in touch. And talking with him a few weeks ago and asking him how things were going and looking, and he said, from his standpoint at least, it looked like New Zealand was completely writing off their international tourism at least until next year, which is a huge, again, for a very, very small country that relies entirely on foreign tourism. They've dabbled with the idea of accepting, Australian tourism and kind of going into this again, this sort of a pool effect with Australia, New Zealand, and we'll see if that happens. But they were basically trying to reinvent entirely for domestic tourism. And I'm sure that's going to be a common story for a lot of countries around the world. Is how do we adjust on the fly, and just now for the next, up to the next year, look at attracting a domestic crowd. And I think there could be upsides to that. I mean, even here, very local to me is Niagara Falls, which is a huge international draw. And as a local, I just never go. There's no reason to. It's always mobs of people. I've seen it before, and I'm sure, like a lot of people who have amazing things in their backyard, they go elsewhere for their inspiration and travel. Now could be a good opportunity to go see those things, because it's safer to be traveling domestically instead of internationally, and some of those things that may have been a turnoff because of mobs and mobs of tourism. I know I've seen similar articles for places like Venice, that Venetians are actually kind of looking around and saying, geez, we can go out and enjoy our own city again for a change. And that could be refreshing and a fun, trying to find a positivity and some fun this summer for me and the family might be to just really take advantage of those things closer to home and appreciate what we have near to us before once again going out and appreciating all the things worldwide.
Well, yeah, I think that's a great point. But also too, like Scott, like you have an amazing television audience. Like because your shows have been so wide. Well, first of all, your shows are incredibly high quality. Your shows have been so widely distributed
Thank you.
and broadcast all around the world, and you guys have done phenomenally well. People depend on you to travel. Like people are waiting for you to get back on the road so they can listen to what you have to say about all these places. And I think that like I feel it. I feel it as well. Like we have a responsibility to kind of keep telling people what's going on in the world
That's right.
and showing them. And if we don't do it, and I think there's going to be like half of the amount of production companies in existence that were from 2019 to 2021. I think like half have gone bankrupt or will go
Yes.
bankrupt in the near
Yes.
future. So there's even less of us, Scott. So we need to somehow we need to get back out and keep entertaining people.
That just means we've got more elbow room now in the world too. We're not going to be bumping into and falling over each other, film crews when we land and get off the plane anymore.
Yeah,
So
it's crazy just because I'm like, some people, like I was talking about this with someone else actually, and it's either going to be really helpful for my career because we might have a chance to do more work with more people once it's safe to travel again, because everyone else has either been turned off by the industry or gone bankrupt and had to take on other jobs,
yeah,
or it's just going to be terrible and travel is just going to be impossible for years.
yeah.
And no one's going to want to watch me walking through the mountains in southern Switzerland with a face mask on.
And I've heard the same thing and thought the same thoughts. And I choose to believe that we're all going to need that kind of inspiration and to go out on our own and do those sort of things as
Yeah,
soon as it's safe to do so. So I think there's going to be a need for it more than ever, because I think the more people have been cooped up and kind of again rehashing what we talked about, the side effect, the mental side effect for people having been locked up for so long, the hope and the possibility of being able to go and do those things and see new places and get out there again is going to be more important than ever. So yeah, I hear the responsibility, and I want to take it and help people, see the world as soon as we can get out there. And like I say, I think for the message that I keep telling people right now is, just because you might not feel like it's safe enough, or you might not have the ability to get on a plane and go to the opposite side of the world or another continent, it doesn't mean that you can't have an amazing experience by just again looking more locally and going out and discovering stuff that we've probably overlooked for years or didn't even know existed.
yeah,
And so I think it may be a good excuse, at least for this summer, for myself and for other people to say, okay, well, before we look at creating new TV shows for what is on the opposite side of the world, to go and pick up the torch and see what I can find kind of in my own backyard, because there's a lot of amazing stuff.
well, Scott, I mean, I did that 74-day, 24,000-kilometer motorcycle tour across
Yeah.
Canada, and I can tell you, I mean, if you ever need some tips, we went everywhere, and Manitoba is epic because you can go north of Winnipeg to Riding Mountain National Park, which is beyond beautiful, and it's up on this like high plateau, and there's bison and there's forests, and it was beautiful. So I mean, we really did get to see a lot of Canada, and you know, this is not being sponsored by Destination Canada, but Canada is a spectacular part of the world,
Sure.
and
Sure.
very proud to be Canadian in Istanbul at the moment.
Right on. Yeah. And you know, again, for people who, you know, are in Turkey, for people who are in Iran, for people who are wherever they may be, is just an opportunity to look locally and say, okay, you know, my wings might be clipped internationally, but let's go see what we've got here, kind of thing.
So have you pitched to OLN or Netflix or Amazon Prime? Have you pitched Departure season 4 as an animated series where you guys just do the whole thing in a studio?
No.
Yeah.
You know what?
Like
we
BoJack,
actually,
like BoJack Horseman, except it's you guys traveling the world. I mean, maybe this is all we have left, or talk to Oculus or Facebook and do a VR series about you guys traveling.
the virtual version of it. Yeah, I think it would be hilarious to do an animated version. You know, and
I think it'd be great.
Yeah, find somebody to do that, to kind of find a look for that animation, and I'm all over it. That's for sure.
I mean, you know, we're 1 or 2 more outbreaks away from that being the only future we have, maybe.
Yeah, I know, exactly. I mean,
so hard to tell about what's going to happen next.
Yeah. I mean, you still must have, outside of the TV production side of things, you must still have a huge laundry list of places that you want to get to, though, do you?
Of course, and a lot of it was inspired by watching you. I mean, you know, you guys, it's 44 episodes. Like, of course, I mean, like you, I'm sure I'm always producing. Like, you know, I'm at a coffee shop, I see a magazine on the wall. It's a picture, it looks pretty. I remember the location. I'm like, how can I get there by trekking? I'm putting it down. I've got the logistics. Where do I fly into? Can I get a driver? Okay, that's episode 4. Like, I'm figuring it out in my head at a coffee shop. Like, I'm nonstop thinking about where to go, how to execute, and that's my life.
So has the downtime almost been a burden that now you have 10 years worth of TV ideas, but nowhere to produce them, or no means to produce them, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I think it has been a bit of a burden, and I think you nailed it a couple minutes ago when you were talking about making plans to go into production in Q4 and really working on pre-production and getting the logistics ready and getting the crew ready, and then getting shut down by a second wave. Like I'm at that stage right now where I'm preparing to go to Europe for August or September. And is it August or is it September or is it October? And is the opening that's happening now going to be a real opening, or are they just going to shut it down again? You know, am I going to spend Christmas in Istanbul? Like, don't know. Like, so it's, but all I can do is keep myself busy.
Yeah, nothing seems ridiculous as an idea right now, right? It's like, well, you could still be stuck. I mean, there's a potential you could still be stuck in Istanbul on Christmas.
As long as I get a beer with you on Christmas Eve, I'll be happy.
Virtually. Let's make the pact right now. Yeah, we'll have to do that. If you are still stuck in Istanbul, yeah, we'll have a VR beer at that point. Yeah, that's crazy.
Thank you for that. That'll make me really happy. Yeah, on my ninth straight month being stranded in Istanbul, we'll share a beer. No, to be honest, Scott, like, you know, you talk about mental health, you talk about feeling like your wings are clipped, you feel like traveling the world and having the world as your oyster, and then now being kind of grounded. These calls have helped me beyond all belief. Like, just being able to talk to people that I respect, like yourself, or people in the same industry, people who also have similar feelings, or people who are doing something totally different, like the professional rugby player I spoke with yesterday. Like, just having something, just producing anything on a daily basis is giving me kind of a reason to wake up in the morning. So again, like, I always appreciate your time, your insight, and you're hilarious. So it's a good laugh for an hour, you know, once every few weeks.
Yeah, I feel, as to say, I feel so lucky that I happen to be at home with you know, I'm close to family and everything. So, you know, I really sympathize with your situation, not you know, not being able to be that close, and not really being in no man's land for you. I mean, Istanbul's a wonderful place, don't get me wrong, but you know, home for you has been, as I understand it, Dubai for the last while, and then hopping all over the place. So not being in Dubai, not being in Canada, and not being able to hop around must really leave you feeling a bit lost, I'm sure.
Lot of empty bottles in my kitchen.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, I can keep myself pretty busy during the daytime, but it's at night. Like, there's no one to go out for dinner with. There's no one to catch up for drinks with.
Yeah.
There's no episodes to plan.
Yeah.
It's just a bit of a different life, and but I'm doing okay, and I always appreciate your time and getting able to chat. And I think today was a great topic, just talking about how we're both looking at production in the next 5 to 6 months, and if any of it will actually happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And after an hour of chatting about it, the synopsis for anyone just tuning in now is, we don't know.
we don't know. Yeah, we
We're
don't
trying.
know,
We're
but
trying, folks, but we don't know.
but I feel better after talking to you for an hour. So I mean, at least we're in the same fucking shit show.
I was gonna say, at least I know that I'm not the only one. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, look, Scott. We're just about out of time. This hour goes by so fast.
Yeah.
I really appreciate your time. I really
We'll do it again.
appreciate it. Yeah, let's do it again. And yeah, I'll
I've
email
got
you
nothing
privately.
to do, man. So let's chat. Let's chat tomorrow. What do you do?
let's let's keep it going. I'll message you again privately. And look, I hope you and your family and your colleagues and friends are all safe and healthy. And good luck with this kind of gentle reopening. And we'll do this again for sure and see where we are and take stock of the life we're currently living in a few weeks' time.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Ryan, for reaching out again. And yeah, pleasure to chat with you. And
Will do.
we'll be back out there making TV for people again soon. I'm sure of it.
All right. Thanks, Scott. Take care, everybody.
Okay. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, guys, that was Scott Wilson of Departures and Descending, and just a television producer like me, television host, television producer, just the nicest guy. I did not know him before these COVID calls, and I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, man, I love your shows. I'm stuck in Istanbul. Let's have a chat." And he just said, "Yeah, let's do it." And yeah, so this is our second chat. Absolutely loved hearing his ideas about how this is all playing out. And I've got a new friend, and I've got a date for a beer at Christmas if I'm still stuck in Istanbul. Scott did say publicly, you all heard it, that he would join me for a beer on December 24th if I'm still in Istanbul and unable to get out. So that's it for me, guys. If you guys are loving the COVID calls, they are all on my YouTube channel, which is just Ryan J. Pyle. And Scott did say he would be back. I will get him back maybe next week or the week after, but I always appreciate his time and his insight. Thank you all, everyone. And I will be back on in just a few minutes with Caio Viela. And he is going to be coming to us live from Brazil. And he's a friend and colleague of mine. We've been working together for years. And I just want to know what the situation is like in Brazil and how he is doing. So Caio and I will be back online in about 5 minutes from now. I'm just going to get some water. And once again, thank you, Scott, for joining me today. And thank you all for tuning in. And we'll be back in a few minutes. Cheers.